morning and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We are on episode 54. We're going to be talking about the college football Saturday recap with the two games of the NFL. And then we're going to talk about the NFL Sunday must-watch games with our bet results from Saturday and how we're going to bet on Sunday. But before I get too far, let me bring on my co-host, Mr. Tim Cook. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. The college football playoffs has not started out the way everybody would like. A lot of blowouts. I think the committee needs to reevaluate how they're picking these teams because it's not looking. None of the games had you on your seat at all.
Yeah, I think Clemson, Texas did it maybe at the end a little bit, but
right.
That was kind of I don't know. I would say not as efficient game. I'm not scared. If Clemson would have won, I wouldn't have been scared of them. And if Texas wins now, which they did, I don't think I'm scared of them. So,
right.
But let's get started with that first game that on 11 o'clock, SMU versus Penn State. SMU just put themselves in too big of a hole. I mean, and it showed the quality team of what came out of this. You know, we said we can't put themselves in a hole like they did in the first half. They just did it all game. Don't worry about it. They did it the whole freaking game. 3 turnovers, I think 2 pick sixes or 3 pick sixes. I mean, Penn State's offense didn't have to do anything.
No.
It was just SMU putting themselves in a hole. This one definitely looked like a difference of conferences and competitive levels. But what did you think about this game?
Yeah, it wasn't like we said in our previous podcast. They can't get in a hole like they did against Clemson. And what they do, they did it again.
Yeah,
they just can't get out ahead. They just keep throwing. And that Jennings had 2 pick sixes. I mean, and he had 3 interceptions in the first half.
Yep.
You know, you can't do that against a great team like Penn State. And they took advantage of it every time. You know, I mean, the running back for Penn State had a rushing. Next thing you know, it's 21-0.
Yep. It's
just like it was. This game wasn't. They go for it on 4th down. They can't get. They got points at the end, garbage points, but they were just outclassed.
Yeah, no, they definitely. And on paper, Penn State's got the team. And honestly, I think Penn State's a scary team right now. I know a lot of people, and unfortunately, that would be Notre Dame if they get past Georgia. They're probably going to be playing Penn State.
Right.
And defense. And I think that's what makes Notre Dame so scary is because of their defense. And you're going to look at that because when we talk about these other games, I don't know if the defenses are that as involved as what these two teams are. But Penn State's defense got after it. I mean, they put a mobile quarterback in the pocket, and then he made mistakes. So, yeah, Penn State on this game just dominated. And the wideout, and we're going to talk about this I feel like every game we talk about college football, that home field advantage was real. That thing was loud. So, yeah, Penn State kind of beats up on SMU. Honestly, and we'll talk once we get done with this real quick, but, was some of these teams worthy of even being in the playoffs? So, but did you have anything more about this game?
No, I mean, they had that Jennings kid on the run. That defense had him on the run the whole time. I mean, he didn't know which way he was going, and they just took advantage of it, and they just got outclassed.
Yeah. Well, then that takes us to our second game, which was Clemson versus Texas. Clemson jumps up to a 7-0 lead, but then Texas comes back and makes it 7-7. And this game felt like a heavyweight battle until really Texas took away with it. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, they started out the 7-0 lead, and then Texas just put it on them. They had 21 straight points. Next thing you know, it's 21-7. Texas goes for it on 4th down, didn't convert on it. So you're thinking, all right, maybe the Clemson can make a run at it. Then Ewers gets intercepted. Clemson kicks a field goal, gets it 21-10. And then they just Ewers to Helm was 28-10. It did seem like Texas or Clemson had plenty of opportunities. They just couldn't cash in. Once they got down close to the end zone, they just shut them down. And Klubnik was kind of running for his life too. And another big one, that Mustafa.
Yeah,
he didn't even. He was either hurt but he didn't even come back in the second half.
Yeah. I think they did say he was injured at halftime, but it is one of these things where they just weren't on the same page. Their offense or the defense would make a great play, get the offensive ball, they wouldn't score. Or offense would go down to score, defense would give up a touchdown. I mean, really the one where I think they brought it to 10, I think it was at the time. And then Texas takes it for a long run for a touchdown. And it was like defense. I mean, they just scored. Like they just gave you an opportunity to get closer. And unfortunately, that's just teams that, they've been inconsistent all year. So when it comes to one game, what do? They're inconsistent. And that's really what I will say, if you're a Texas fan, you saw an offense that kind of take off. That's a bad Clemson defense. That's a
Yeah,
Clemson, that's a
yeah,
Clemson defense that South Carolina came back and won the game on y'all because you guys
right.
couldn't stop them. So Texas offense, okay, but I'm gonna tell you right now, when you go against the, you'd either have to face Oregon or Ohio State if you win against Arizona State, which I don't think it's going to be that easy of a game for them. Like, I just don't think. I think they looked really good, and I think people are going to talk it up. But at the same time, I don't know if they're that good still yet.
Well, and that Terrell for Clemson, which is the brother of the Terrell from Atlanta Falcons, he had 3 PIs too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. They were just picking on him left and right. So I mean, that they'd catch him. They'd get on a third down, and then they'd get a penalty. That you can't. I mean, that you can't keep extending drives. That's just a killer.
Yeah, and I did see another one that Texas did lose 2 offensive linemen, which could be a huge change of what, depending on how big they didn't play the second half. One's actually getting evaluated. I think the other one will come back. I didn't catch their names, but 2 offensive linemen out of 5. That's not a good,
All right.
Now you're not going to have the 2 weeks off, right? You're going to be playing a week from now, right? Like, isn't it? It's the
January 1st is when they'll play. They'll play January 1st. So they'll have about 10 days.
I think they're the 31st game.
Are they?
I think it is. Or maybe they are the first, but it's like, yeah, those 2 days.
Right. So you're still going to have 10, 11 days to rest.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah. So
Yeah.
still, it's one of these things where it's not going to be, I mean, even 10 days, if it's that big of an injury,
Right.
their biggest thing is getting that Isaiah Bond, I think his name is.
Yeah.
You got to get the wide receiver back.
Yep. Yeah.
That moves us to our night game, Tennessee versus Ohio State. Ohio State jumps up to a 21-0 lead. Like they had something to prove. And then they kind of let Tennessee kind of play back a little bit. But this game was all because of the stadium. The home field advantage, that one was, and when you get these 100,000, 600,000, there's a million people in the stadium, right?
Right.
It's really hard. And all we heard about was, there's so many Tennessee fans. It didn't sound like it last night. When Ohio State ran up to that 21-0, it didn't seem like they were even in the same country as what Tennessee. So at the same time, Ohio State is beatable. I mean, the way they played, yeah, that home field advantage was nice, but what they were giving up on Nico and stuff like that, they just didn't capitalize. Tennessee did not capitalize when they needed to, and that's what got them in their hole. What did you think about this game?
I think that defense, Ohio State, that Jack Sawyer was flying around last night. I mean, he was giving him a lot of pressure, I thought.
Yeah, I just hate him because of the whole Michigan thing.
I know.
You're a nice story.
Yeah, I know. Well, and like I said, but it just seemed like, I tell you what, that Howard, how you can look so bad, and then the next game he plays looks so good. He threw that dime to Jeremiah Smith. Holy cow. I'm thinking to myself, where was this at against Michigan? I guess Michigan's defense is a little bit better than maybe Tennessee. I didn't think that they were that good. Tennessee only give up 13 points a game. Hell, they give that up in the first 7 minutes of the game. I mean, they got down early, and he could do anything he wanted at Howard. I mean, he had that one interception in the end zone, which I didn't think that he got this foot down when Howard threw that one in the end zone. But he must just toe tapped it just enough to get that interception. But that was his only flaw the whole night. I mean, he was throwing dimes.
And I think the interception was only because it was called on the field as an interception.
Right. And they didn't have enough proof. Right.
Yeah. Because I don't think it either. I mean, because it's so weird, and I was actually saying this when I was watching the game, that a wide receiver has to have full possession. That's what they kept saying, full possession. But then a DB, the safety catches it way out past his body and gets a toe on there, and they're like,
right.
I mean, you got to call it both ways, because I mean, you're talking about the Calvin Johnson or you gotta be able to survive the ground. That guy didn't survive the ground. He didn't even
No, because he's laying on top of the other guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, their 2 running backs, Henderson and Junkins, had 2 rushing touchdowns. Smith had a couple touchdowns from Howard. I mean, they just totally dominated. And like you said, they took the crowd right out of it. I mean, at the beginning, you could hear some of the crowd from Tennessee because they were singing Rocky Top Tennessee, and you could hear that in the pregame. And it's like, ooh. And they just went, Ohio State went, nope, we're not. And Chip Kelly had an awesome game plan for Howard. And they took advantage of it. I mean, there was a lot of wide open to Smith. They finally got that take going like in the third quarter. I'm like, boy, if they get him going, this they might put a 50 burger up. I mean, they came pretty damn close, 42, but I mean, this was not a much of a game at all.
Yeah, and I think it actually talks to the SEC a little bit. You have one team left, or two teams, Texas and Georgia, right? And I think Georgia's beatable, and I think Texas is beatable. And last night, Tennessee, they only give up 13.9 points a game against, and Ohio State they just came out and kicked their ass. It wasn't even, and I felt like if you went to go get a plate of food and came back, you were like, it's already 4-0.
Yeah.
So I do think, and I think Tennessee in this game, one thing I did want to bring up was the quarterback. So he had the sleeves in his jersey that were fleece. So he could put his hands in his jersey to keep him warm. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that is soft as baby's bottom. Come on. The coldest game he's ever. Bro, you're not even playing negative temperatures yet. You're not even. It was like 37 degrees last night in Columbus. Like, it wasn't snowing.
No.
But
if you want to play the next level, you're going to get in some games that could be really cold.
Hey, don't go to Green Bay, bud. Because or don't be in the NFC North. And I don't even say that. AFC North or AFC East or whatever. One of these. And I don't know if he'll play at the next level. He's going to have to take a lot, because I think he's running a game last night, Nico's. But that's what happens when you go down 21-0. They were a running team that had play action. They couldn't do it, so they were out. But I will tell you, I'm not rooting for this Sawyer. He's a hell of an athlete.
He is good. He's good. You got to give him. You got to give him his props. He is good.
He's a little punk with that whole.
I know.
So that wraps up real quick, and I want to talk about this real quick. That wraps up college football. There was a lot of conversations of some of these teams didn't deserve to be in there and stuff like that. And you kind of said it right before, and I was like, hold on, wait for the podcast. Do you think that there's better teams that should have been in here after watching these games?
Yeah, I think South Carolina was playing pretty good ball at the end of the year. I think Miami would have given them a better deal. I know we kind of went back and forth on this one. I think even Alabama would have given them a better game. I think he would have had that team ready to go.
Yeah,
there's three teams right there. I mean, there's got to be a couple more. I think they've got to go with the 12 best teams, and get away from this conference winners. You got to have the best 4 teams get a bye, and the other 8 or that is just as good, they play. You've got to get away from this.
And you're going to talk about it too. Is you're now going to look at even next week of Boise State's got to play and Arizona State. So we might have teams that are stinkers already. We're just naming that right because they're top 4. I mean, you could have had 2 games. I think Georgia Notre Dame is going to be a heavyweight match, and Ohio State and Oregon for the rematch that came down to a 1-point game is going to be a great game. But I can't say that Arizona State and Texas is going to be a game because I don't know what to expect. So I definitely that conference winners of that. But I think there's only one team that you could have changed out, and I think it's South Carolina, only because of how good they were playing at the end of the year. Right? A lot of games that they lost on. I mean, Alabama was the last second. LSU, there's a couple games that they could have been, a 2 different loss team than what they were. So, but Alabama, I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because of what they did against Oklahoma. That is my you were not ready. And Miami, you lost to Syracuse.
Yeah.
You were so inconsistent at the end of the year. Georgia Tech beat you, and things like that. It was just like, who's not to say that Penn State was going to beat the piss out of you too? I just think what we're going to walk away from this is that first week is huge with that home field advantage. You don't get home field advantage, you better be better on paper. And you're probably not. You're not home field. But that home field advantage was huge because I thought Notre Dame was rocking, but every stadium yesterday, outside of a little bit, once Texas was a little close, and then they had, all right, decide
on the sideline,
But Ohio State was rocking.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's what we'll talk about at the end of it. But
you know what I wouldn't mind seeing too is the next round, home field advantage. Or I like to see I would like to see home games in late December, early January. This next round that you play at home.
Yeah.
Because I get it. You don't some that Arizona State could have had a home game. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't mind it. I don't know if they will do it because there's too much money involved in the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Rose Bowl. There's just too much money for them to go to that. Those guys have got to get their money too as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't.
But
think
I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Yeah, I would love to see it, but I don't think it'll ever happen. Just because,
I don't think so either.
And if anything, I could see them reversing this first round because of how decisive it was, giving more for sponsorship because of what this was.
Right.
Well, there was other games going on, and if you watch those ones instead, the NFL Texans versus Chiefs. Man, did Patrick Mahomes get hurt or not? Because I don't know the way he played. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, he started right off. He had a rushing touchdown, made it 7-0. You know, it just didn't seem they put a lot of pressure on Stroud all day long, and he couldn't get anything going. Finally, Stroud got in the end zone with that pass to Dell down the field, and then Dell dislocated his kneecap. Oh, that was just, and he knew it right off the bat because he was waving the training staff over. He knew that there was something not right, and you can see Stroud was really choked up on that. If the cameras got him on, he was damn near bawling because he felt so bad for him. So I mean, it was that defense of Kansas City is good. They're gonna be good. I think they could give Baltimore all they can handle again if they happen to meet in the playoffs. But yeah, it was just Mahomes to Worthy was 24-16. It just didn't seem like Texas just couldn't get over that hump. They got the lead, and then Kansas City get it right back, and they just couldn't get over the hump.
Well, and I think the touchdown catch by Tank Dell could have been the momentum they needed if he doesn't get it. Because then they result in the next play missing the field goal. And it was just
that's the point. Yeah,
it was just gone. It was just like it was all over after that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Xavier Worthy, you got Hollywood Brown back. He got to play a little bit of that game. I drafted his ass, so that's cool that he's now being back there with the second to last round of fantasy football. And then I have Tank Dell that I didn't play and gets injured. So cool. But CJ Stroud, I think in this game, obviously he was emotional, and I think that does take a lot on you when you do see a teammate like that going down.
Right.
But I feel like what we saw last year was this maturity, and we were like, oh my gosh, he's so mature as a rookie and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like he took a step back this year.
I do too.
I just feel like this year, the way his mindset is going into these games is not what I'm questioning now. He's got the talent, and unfortunately, with all the injuries that they have, you know, it has affected how he can play the ball. I mean, take Dell going down now, I would say makes them they're going to make it to the playoffs, but because I think they already clinched, but they're not forced with because it's now down back to Nico Collins, and Nico Collins has been fighting injuries all year too. So they lose him, they're definitely done. So
and they just couldn't get Mixon going either. This team, I think, is probably, like you said, they're going to make the playoffs. They might be a one and done. They'll get a home game, and that's it. They just don't seem like they got what they had the last year. They're not getting the ball down the field, definitely.
Yeah.
And if they can't get Mixon going, it's going to be hard to get the ball down the field because they'll just key on that.
Yeah. Well, that takes us to our other afternoon NFL game, Steelers versus Ravens. Well, we bet a Sody on this one, and I'll tell you what, I love getting up 2 Sodies. I'm about to get myself back. We keep doing this. Steelers without Pickens. It's just they can't get the ball out. Mike Williams, what happened there? Because in the Chargers, he was just one of those guys that you were like, oh my gosh, he's going to be a future and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But the Ravens look playoff ready. They just look like you can start the playoffs today, and they're a force to be reckoned with. But what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, they started right off the bat. Jackson likely 7-0, and then Wilson got going and he got to 7-7, and then Wilson fumbles the ball, and that was a killer because he was running right down the middle of the field, and next thing you know, the ball's out. Man, you can't put it on the floor, on the ground like that. That was a killer because they could have went up 14-7 at that time because they were down like at the 20. You had Jackson to bait. Jackson had a hell game, 2 passing touchdowns again. Right before halftime, that Boswell. Thank you, Chris Boswell, the 51-yarder. In my fantasy, that got me 5 points or 6 points. But it just didn't seem like they just couldn't get their passing without Pickens. They're going to struggle because all they'll do is put 7 men in the box, and all they got to do is stop Warren and Harris. So I mean, that's tough.
Well, and 7 guys in the box too, like that. It's hard to dump it down to like Pat Fire like that. So now you have to use that Austin and Mike Williams. And they just can't get open.
No. And then Wilson throws that pick 6 and made it 31-17, and it was over then. I mean, the game was over. I mean, they couldn't do anything else with it. So,
well, and I think they got Derrick Henry going again this game, and they hit 167 or something like that rushing yards. No touchdowns, which would have been nice on my fantasy side, but getting him the ball more often. You could see that Pittsburgh, they were like, well, we contain Lamar because every time there would be a read option, they would go towards Lamar. But then that gave more handoffs to Derrick Henry. And once you get that well-oiled machine going of him, it's not easy to stop. So, I just think when you look at this game, it was like the Ravens are ready. And the way the Chiefs played, it kind of made me like, oh, okay, maybe the Chiefs are back in it too. But it's hard to now be like, oh, Josh Allen. We are so like at the moment when we talk about MVPs because after watching that game last night, how do you not give to Lamar?
Yeah.
But wait, today we'll watch Josh Allen play and we'll be like, oh, give it to Josh Allen. With the way Lamar holds that game, the passing. It's always been about his feet, and he can run the ball, and he can. But the way he's been throwing the ball these past couple weeks, they are a very, very, very dangerous team in the playoffs.
Yeah. And if that defense can play like they did yesterday, they'll even be more dangerous. I mean, they picked off Wilson, and they kind of contained them for the most part of the game.
Well, that takes us to our Sunday must. Oh wait, before we do that, how'd you do?
0-3. I had the Steelers getting the 7. Yeah, they get blown out. SMU, they got blown out. And then I had Tennessee, and they got blown out. It was not a good betting day.
Yeah, I honestly went 1-2, and it was only because I went with the Ravens. Obviously, with the Ravens -7, they win by whatever they did. I took the 13.5 for Clemson. They lost by 14. That's a tough.
Right.
And then the under, and I'm so mad at myself. I changed it during our podcast. I had Ohio State -7 on my. That's what I was going to bet. And then I changed it to the under because I was like, well, you're right. Both defenses are good. And then when they went up 21-0, I said, damn it. Like, that's 7.
Right.
1-2. But now we got to get on to the Sunday must-watch game. So we got a little bit of that NFL. To start us off right off the bat is Eagles versus Commanders, a divisional game. Saquon is still within reach of getting the rushing title. I think that's one of these things where people are still looking at it. But here's an interesting stat about Saquon. He is yet to win a divisional title since entering the NFL. And the Eagles have a chance to win the divisional title. The Giants have won the division since the Saquon's been in the NFL.
Really? I didn't know that either.
I had to look it up because I was like, Eli, right? Like you went to Eli.
Right.
They never won the division. I thought it always went between Eagles but you got to think Cowboys were in there.
Right.
And that's where it was like, I always thought it was Eagles and Giants were switching back and forth. And then it was like, no, I looked it up and it was like Eagles and Cowboys always switch back and forth.
Right.
But one recent. But he's not won a division. At the same time, both teams are already playoff contenders. Eagles got to win because they keep that home field advantage possibility with they're tied with the Vikings and Lions. Commanders got to win because they got to show that they're going to be relevant in the playoffs.
Right.
Jake Daniels has great start, but not as a recent. I just think this year, if with Jane Daniels making it to the playoffs, if they can win one playoff game, that's what we saw last year with C.J. Stroud. You saw with Jordan Love. I think it'll be a huge jump forward. I know Jordan Love's not a rookie, but it was his first year of actually playing.
Right.
I feel like one of these big jumps for this. But what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles have won 10 in a row. I mean, they're on fire right now. These two teams met November 14th, which didn't seem like that long ago. And it was really a dogfight on Thursday night. It was the Eagles won 26-18. The Eagles need to win the NFC West. And for the Washington, this will push them closer. If they can win, they'll push them closer in the playoffs. Eagles need to start out fast. I mean, and make Washington play from behind because I don't think Jane Daniels that team is very good by playing from behind. For Washington, they've got to get McLaurin and their running attack going as well. And even with Daniels, get him out and start swinging some passes out that way too. If they can do that, I think they can win. But I tell you what, right now the Eagles are probably playing their best ball right now at the right time.
I didn't see, but is A.J. Brown playing? I don't think he is.
I think he is.
Oh, yeah.
I think he is.
Because that is definitely a difference in this game.
Right.
But yeah, if A.J. Brown's playing this game, this is definitely a bigger matchup. I think the way you look at this one too is I think this is the future of this division.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants have to do a rebuild with what they got going on. And Cowboys, are you going to crash and burn and change everything? Or are you going to run it back? If you run it back, I think the same problem you are in this year too. So this is for like the bragging rights of the future of the division. So yeah, this would be a great game, I think.
Yeah.
That moves us to another divisional game, Lions versus Bears. Lions are coming off a loss to the Bills, and, the Bears are the Bears. So what do you think about this game?
The Lions, they need this win to stay ahead of the Vikings. Vikings are breathing right down their neck on them, for the NFC North. While the Bears are riding an 8-game winning streak and just pretty much playing out the season. Can Caleb bounce back this week? We seen him on the sideline during the Vikings game. He's moaning and, come on, man. This is the NFL now. This ain't NCAA. We're not at USC anymore. Straighten up, and because the camera's going to be on you, buddy. The camera's going to be on you. So don't be looking. Can the Bears defense step up this week and slow down that high powerful offense that scored 40-some points last week against the Bills? And the Bears, they need to get Swift going. He hasn't been doing hardly anything this year. They got to get him going early. And I think the biggest question is, can the Lions keep going, get their momentum back with all these injuries? Now we've got a couple more people that are hurt. So can they get this going too? So.
Well, and I think the Lions, they're their own kryptonite. I mean, what I mean by that is their high-powered offense, it can score within seconds, right? But then that means your defense is playing more. And your defense is injured right now. Also, you're now going to lean on a one running back with Gibbs. Don't get me wrong. Spectacular athlete. But can he do what he's been doing for as long as he has with being the number one back?
Number one, right, yep.
The other thing, too, is if there was a week for Caleb Williams to get his mojo back, I think it's this week. Like, the Lions defense is not going to bring much pressure against you because they can't. And the DBs are so hurt. Linebackers are hurt. This is the week to do it. I've never seen a number one drafted quarterback have as many so many options to throw the ball than he has. Get him open. DJ Moore,
Keenan Allen,
Cole Kmet. Get him open and get them the ball. Get it out there. Let's make that work. Looking at this game, I just think if Detroit loses this game, everything we talked about, everyone's gonna talk about the Eagles. The Eagles.
Yep.
If Detroit wins this game, they better win by a lot. But I don't know how you do that, because if the more points you score, the more time that your defense is on the field.
Yep.
You almost need to win like 7-0 just to keep your and have it for literally 2 possessions. So, and I don't think that's not Campbell's game style. So I don't know how this is. I think the Lions are in a big trouble, and I could see the Bears making an upset for this game.
Wow. I don't know about that. I mean, here's my next question. The Bears lose again. That's their 9th in a row. Are we going to be saying that maybe Caleb Williams has regressed since the firing of Eberflus? I think it has. I think he has. I warn people, Bears fans, we got to get rid of Eberflus. Look at the Jets. I think they've regressed since they fired Saleh. Be careful what you wish for, because if he regresses, now you're starting all over again next year. And I think he has regressed a little bit.
I think he regressed. I also think that his problem is what he did in college football, he's trying to do in the NFL and he can't do.
Yeah.
Holding on to the ball way too long, which is causing either holding calls or linemen downfield or whatever. Now, sometimes that can work in your favor. The longer you hold on to the ball and you kind of scramble around, DB might grab hold of the wide receiver or pass interference or whatever. Right. But what has been happening
Bless you.
Thank you. It's been the opposite for the Bears. So I it's all the turmoil. It's all the turmoil.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Yep.
It's bad publicity after bad publicity. So is he regressing? I don't know if it's just mindset's bad, like at this point, which you can't blame him for. So
no, definitely.
But that takes us to our third must-watch game, Vikings versus the Seahawks. And as a Vikings fan, this is a great game to come towards because they just got their asses whooped against the Green Bay Packers, the Seahawks did. So now how are they going to come up against this matchup, which the Vikings have a better record and might be a better team than the Green Bay? So looking at this game, if the Vikings lose, it will be, the analysts were right. They'll be in the playoffs. They won't do nothing. If the Vikings win, put some damn respect on their name, okay? Because if they win, these other two teams have hard competitions. I personally feel that the Bears might give the Lions all they can ask for today. And I think the Commanders, almost got canceled. The Commanders are going to give the Eagles as much as they can run for too. At the same time, Vikings, get ready to play because this game is going to come down to the end for this one. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, and I think weather might play a factor in it too. I think they're talking about a lot of rain going on. So that's going to be can Darnold with the elements going on. But, Seahawks coming off that bad loss to the Packers. I mean, that was a killer. Now Geno Smith is not 100%. So, that's going to be – but Seahawks need to win this one to keep pace with the Rams. I mean, if they lose this one, and the Rams win, I mean, there'll be 2 back with 2 to go. I think they play each other. No, they don't. It's Arizona next week. But, yeah. So, I mean – and the Rams have the tiebreaker too. So if they tied, Vikings have won 7 in a row. Hey, let's get their props. And they're not 10 in a row, but it's still they're playing good. Viking defense has only given up 142 yards in the last 3 games, rushing yards. I think in the last 3 games, that run defense is playing lights out. I mean, they pretty much shut down Swift last week. I think if Seattle can establish the run, that opens things up for Geno Smith. They've got to get that run. They got to get Charbonnet going. I don't know if Kenneth Walker's going to play or not.
Yep.
He is playing. So, I mean, that's good. And as the Seahawks defense got to step up and contain Jefferson and Addison. I know that's very hard. And I say contain, not shut them down, but contain them to very little or minimum deal. But they're hot right now, those 2 wide receivers.
Well, I think the weathers might help contain them.
Right.
Whether it's actually the defense or not, I think the weather could definitely contain them. Only thing I look back on is that Rams versus Seahawks. When the Rams won on that overtime touchdown or whatever. Right. That's what I look at this game as. The Rams have all these options with a quarterback that's not going to put him in problems, right? He's going to throw the ball before he throws it up.
Yep.
Now, looking at this game, they have the same way of the options. They have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison playing. You have T.J. Hockenson. I think they have more weapons than the Rams did, and the Rams were able to throw the ball all day over the Seahawks.
Right.
So if weather does get involved, it's also one of these things too, where like what used to be a rainy game 10 years ago, 15 years ago, well, you can't pass the ball. They got technology now with the ball.
And the gloves. And
they'll switch the ball out if they need to and stuff like that. So, but if you're Vikings, you have to get Justin Jefferson involved. He has been nothing but the best thing that's happened to you. Now get it going. They did it last week with the Bears, and look how that resulted. It opens up the running attack. It allows for Jordan Addison to get more open, T.J. Hockenson to get more involved. And then even this Naylor, whatever, the other wide receiver, the third one, options too. So I just think if Vikings win, can we start putting them that they're actually going to be the number 1 team in the NFC North? And I'll tell you right now, if they do find a way to get home field advantage, you're not going to want to hear skull. Game. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to want to. So there is other games happening today on NFL Sunday. At noon today, we have the Giants versus the Falcons. We have the Browns and Bengals. We have the Titans and Colts, Rams and Jets, Cardinals and Panthers. At the 3 o'clock time, we have Vikings, Seahawks, Patriots, Bills, Jaguars and Raiders, 49ers and Dolphins. And tonight, we have the Buccaneers versus Cowboys and Saints and Packers. Let's move on to our bets to get us on. What do you got for your first bet today?
I'm going to go with the Cleveland and Cincinnati. Cleveland coming off the big loss to KC 21-7, while Cincinnati's came off the win 37-27 in a wild game. The Browns have won each of the last 2 games as road dogs, following a home loss, while the Bengals have covered the spread in each of the last 6 Sunday games against teams with losing records. If Winston's playing, which I don't think he has his DTR, I would take the over. But since he's not playing his DTR, so I like the Bengals given the 7.5.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that the way that this is going, and this line's been moving definitely as well too. I definitely think that the Browns right now you're on the James, so good luck. So for me, for my first bet, I am taking the Colts minus 3.5 against the Titans. I just scolded Anthony Richardson about how bad he is. I absolutely hated how he played. But you know who's worse? Will Levis. So I'm going to go with the quarterback on this one. I think they still have a playoff contention in this. They have more to play for. It's at home. I think they're going to get the crowd involved. I like this one, Colts minus 3.5. What do you got for your second bet?
My second bet, 49ers and Dolphins. We're going down south to Miami. 49ers look to bounce back after a tough loss to the Rams, 12-6 on last Thursday night. That was a sleep fest. While the Dolphins are coming off a bad loss to Houston, they had an opportunity to win at the end, and they Tua threw the interception. Um, Miami needs to clean up on the turnovers and play consistent ball. But you know what? I think they will this week. I like the Dolphins and this one and getting the 2 points. The 49ers are favored by 2. I was shocked on that one, but I like the Dolphins as the home dog.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one. I actually looked at that one and I saw the line changing on that one as well. So I was kind of like, there's something that I don't know maybe in that one.
Right.
But if it's going the way you don't think it is, go with the way that the people are talking then.
Right.
I'm actually looking at the Buccaneers versus Cowboys tonight. Buccaneers are favored 4.5 against Dallas. Dallas can't win at home. They can't find a way to win at home. So I like this. Tampa Bay also looks really, really good against the Chargers last week. I think the way that they're playing their ball, they might be a scary team to see in the playoffs. I think Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield. Mike Evans is going for the record or whatever for another 1,000-yard receiving yard or whatever year. So there's reason to get him the ball. Well, guess what? He's the best player on the field. I like Tampa Bay in this game. 4.5. I think they handle this one pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. And that was going to be my third bet. Take the Tampa. Micah Parsons was saying, "Oh, we went out. Okay, stop, Micah. Just go back to your podcast. You can't. No, this team is not going to win out, and they'll prove tonight as the Cowboys will suffer another home loss. I don't know if it'll be like the rest of the beginning of the year, but they're going to lose again tonight. And I like the 4.5 points.
Yeah. For my third bet, I'm taking the Jaguars and Raiders. What? Who gives a shit? Well, if the line actually gives a shit. The Jaguars are getting 2 points in this game. I don't understand this one at all. Honestly, I wouldn't even take it, the 2 points. I'm taking the money line on this one. I think the Jaguars with Mac Jones, he's got a little bit of a careless feeling right now. He knows he's not going to be the starting quarterback. The way he's slinging the ball, I think everyone's still on the Raiders bandwagon when they almost beat Kansas City, but they're not that good. So let's get back to what they are. Max Crosby's not even playing because he's out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I take the Jaguars on this one. I take a money line. I wouldn't even take the 2. But if you want to be safe, take the 2. I just don't think it matters because a field goal is a game changer on that one. Take a money line. If you're going to lose, let's lose the game. So.
Yeah, I you know what? I'll bet you a Sody on this one, and I'll take the Raiders. Go Black. Just win, baby. Just win. Okay.
You're just trying to make it a full 6-pack at this point. I mean, you know what? Hey, I'll bet you that you leave today to go back to home. Bet a Sody on it. Like, geez. But yes, so I definitely I'll do a money line on that one. I think the way
the winner, whoever wins. Okay.
I think the way Mac Jones is just playing careless. He's doing the boom celebration after he gets a first down. I like that. So, but that is our Sunday podcast. We recapped a little bit of the college football on Saturday, talked a little bit of NFL on Saturday. We talked about our must-watch for NFL on Sunday as well. We also have one Monday night game, which is the 23rd. And then I believe we might even have, because we don't have a Christmas Eve game, right? Or do we?
No, but we will have 2 games on Christmas Day.
On Christmas Day.
How they did it was the 4 teams that played on Saturday are playing again on Wednesday as well. They're just moving around, which is really weird. Why? But anyway, it's the NFL. They say, screw you, NBA. We're going to take over again. So.
Yeah, we'll be back on. We'll be posting our thing on Wednesday, talking about these 2 games that'll be on Christmas Day. So we'll have those 2. I know you'll be with family, so hey, just stream it. Show the people all what we do here. We do appreciate all the fans and everyone watching. Have a great Sunday. We'll be back on Wednesday.